Hi YouTube family, we're just going to go ahead and get started, and I'm starting here in order to show you how I place the closure on the dome cap. I did use straight pins because I'm using my wig making mannequin, so I can put the pins in all around the perimeter. As you can see up close, I pinned all the hair up so it's out of the way, so that when I begin sewing I don't really have to worry about the hair getting in the way. The closure's been placed all the way to the very front of the cap. The edge where you cut the small amount of lace off, you'll see that later coming up, is how the closure is placed. So here I'm just sewing the closure onto the cap. And it's really easy, you know, once you get the hang of it and you get your own rhythm going actually when you begin to sew on closures and things like that. So I'm just sewing the closure on here. And I'm using the same method I would use if I was going to sew wefts. And just a little bit more sewing. I tried to edit out a few parts of this just so I wanted you to get the idea of what it is that I'm doing without kind of making you watch the whole process all the way through. And sewing using this mannequin head is so easy because it's made out of canvas and cloth, and I don't really have a problem with it fitting my, like the cap fitting my head, because the mannequin head itself is made to my specifications. Most people, that the circumference of your head is usually between like 22 to 23 inches all the way around. So as you see, the pins really do keep the closure in place, and it makes it easier for me to sew when I'm, you know, just using needle and thread. And I'm going to sew all the way around. The only part of the closure that's not sewn down is right across the very front. All around the side, the back, and around the other side is always sewn onto the dome cap. And I tried to make it as clear as I could so you could see the process. That way, even if you decide to make a wig of your own, you can kind of follow along and, you know, do it according to the method that I use, and it might be a little easy for you. And I'm just still sewing. So you can see I'm trying to turn the mannequin head so you can really see closely what it is that I'm doing. And I'm just hooking the thread through in order to create a little bit of a loop, and I'm pulling it tight. The closure is going to fit nice and tight. And now I'm just going to finish up the other side. And I know sometimes we feel like we may not be able to make a wig of our own. If you have wefted hair and you have a closure, you can always make a wig of your own from the dome cap. So now I'm just finished sewing, and I'm going to take the pins out. And as you see, the closure is not moving. The pins help to keep the closure in place while I was sewing. It didn't shift it around. And you can see the threads are nice and tight. I did put a lot of pins in order to keep the closure steady while I was sewing. I didn't want it to shift because I knew exactly where I wanted it. And now I'm just going to take the cap off of the mannequin head so you can see it. And that's what it looks like. And right across the front, that's what we're going to cut out. Once I'm done gluing on the wefts, we're going to cut this part out right here. And then that way the closure is going to lay flat, and it's going to lay close to your scalp, and it's going to lay down nice and tight. And I'm just putting the cap back on to the mannequin head. So you can see the closure is all the way. We're going to cut that piece of lace off, and we're going to start in the back with the glue gun. First, I'm just going to measure a couple wefts and glue those on. Now, I haven't had an issue with my wefts lifting if I use the glue gun. I really haven't had a problem with that. Once in a while you might get an area that'll lift a little bit, and it's going back to those little spaces and hitting it with a little bit of glue, holding it down, and you're good to go. And this is just the first track that I'm laying. With this method, when you're using a glue gun, to flip the track doesn't really work well. That works really well if you're sewing, but if you're gluing, you have to kind of cut the wefts. And this is just how I do it. I know there's lots of methods out there. Lots of the ladies here on the YT use the glue gun to make their wigs. And for me, it's super easy and it's super fast. And you always, if you decide, you can always go back and go over those wefts with a needle and thread. And now you can see the weft nice and tight in the back. It's all glued down nice and smooth. And we're going to just go ahead and put some more wefts all the way up to the top. And this is once I put wefts all the way back and forth on the bottom. Finished. This is close to the top. And then this is the last weft of hair brought right up even with the closure. And then that way when I comb it down, you'll be able to see exactly what it looks like. There's no seam there. That track is glued all the way right up even with the closure. So now we're just going to take out the pins that was holding the hair in place at the top, just so you can get an idea. And I do have some still pics coming up at the end, so you'll be able to check that out as well. And the hair is a little bit curly since I had it kind of twisted around. And now what we're going to do is cut out that space where we sewed on the closure. And I'm going to show you what happens sometimes with me. I didn't sew it as tight as that I should have on one side, but I'm going to show you what happens and how we can go in and repair that part. So now I'm just cutting the lace all the way across the front. That's the little bit of lace that's left over at the front of the closure. And I just cut that off, and as you can see, the closure is just a little bit forward of the edge of the dome cap. So now I'm going to go in and just cut that small part out of the middle where the closure is right underneath, and you can see the closure right there. Now on this one side, I didn't sew it down as well as I should. You can see that right there, but that's where I'll go back in and just tack that part with a little bit of, thread with the needle and thread. We'll be good to go. See right there, I'm just going to pull that over. And this just goes to show sometimes when we do these, it's not always perfect. We sometimes do make mistakes, but it's always fixable. And I'm just cutting the rest of the dome cap that was underneath the closure. And there we have it. That's the top and the front. And we're going to go back and sew that other side. And now here is the wig on. It's nice and flat at the top. I've had no issues with it. All items are from bestlacewigs.com, the hair and the closure. Here's a close-up. And I'm really hoping this was helpful. And I'm hoping you have an absolutely awesome day today. And I'll see you again soon.